Okay, this video is going to be really, really powerful because I'm going to address how can you make sure that he is going to look at you as a priority and not just as an option. And there are 5 powerful steps that I'm going to share with you in this video that are going to help you that he's going to look at you as a priority because you're definitely not an option. And all of this happened because of these 5 steps. And I'm going to share with you everything in this regard to make it really illustrative through an example that I want to give you through a good friend of mine. A good friend of mine, she dated a guy, and he was like this night manager of this club, like, doing really, really well. And he was the perfect example of a player. He was dating her. He was dating a bunch of other girls around him. Like, maybe he was dancing downstairs with her, but then he takes another girl up to the office. All of this. He was playing it to the T. And to his credit, he was never hiding anything. So he was truly honest with this. Now I'm seeing these two. I'm definitely seeing her more than him. And she just has like, there's something special about him. But he's just playing the field. He's playing the game. And she, like, when they're together, she's blossoming. There's so much beauty. They have such a good time. There's so much passion, whatever. But then there are all these other moments. All these other moments of pain and suffering and doubting and not being his priority. And at some point, after another night of crying all night, I took her aside and I, gave her my perspective. It's like, look, answer me this question. One, what is it about this man that takes you so into his field? And she explained it very well and very beautifully. And you could sense there's some genuine love there. I was like, okay, cool. Like, if you really want to get this man, and if he's going to be the right one for you, then I can give you a strategy in order to make it happen. It's like, okay, cool. So this is now for all of you guys. First of all, if you're in such situation with something somewhat similar, then the most important piece of advice, the first step of this 5-step strategy is like you need to own your own spotlight. You need to make yourself a priority. Because otherwise, if you don't make yourself a priority, why would anyone else make it? Why would he make her a priority if she doesn't even do it herself? So it's super, super important to embrace a life where you are the main character, where you're not just waiting along and being on hold and then you are available when it is for the other person convenient or whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, you're a priority. You're the price kind of thing, And this is so, so, so important because if you don't make yourself a priority, why would anyone else look at you as a priority? So that's the first piece. So she needed to kind of like sit with that for a second. It's like, okay, so the next thing that we need to do, you need to create your own absolutely amazing life that you're so in love with that he wants to be part of too. So rather than putting so much focus and attention on him and making sure she got time whenever he's available, whatever, it's like, no, we're shifting the whole thing upside down right now. You're going to live your life. You have so many beautiful friends. You have so many great circles to do a bunch of adventures with, to like explore life in the most beautiful way. There's so much that she had available right at her fingertips. And she wasn't using anything because all her attention and her focus went to him. Her life was basically completely on pause. Her friends, her family, work, like so many things kind of suffered because all of it was directed towards him. And there she didn't really get the attention that she wanted ultimately and what she was really looking for. So we flipped this thing whole upside down. And then what happens, like with that, there's just a little bit more of space that is created. And rather than her being a lady that is just like all the other ladies that are around him, now she kind of started to separate herself from that. So he could see a different version of her. He could see a different, like, wait a second, like what's going on here? Like, that's not the way how it always was. Like, do I like this? Do I not like this? No, actually, probably I don't like it so much. So because of that space, she wasn't as much available anymore. Because of her focus, her attention and energy on her life and her friends and the things how she can enjoy and, up-level her life, there wasn't so much attention on him. And obviously he didn't like it. And clearly he noticed it. Which brings me to today's sponsor. If you're stuck, lost, or confused when it comes to your relationship with men and you don't know how to communicate your needs to him in a way that makes you feel seen, loved, and heard, then you must see this. Since every woman's personality and circumstance is so unique and so special to you, we have a free relationship assessment quiz that you can take in the link below. That quiz will give you a customizable action plan to give you the love that you deserve, because you're worthy of it and you do deserve it so, so much. So take our free relationship assessment quiz right now. And now, back to the video. And then we combine that with designing her own boundary blueprint, because it's really, really important to have a very solid framework of the things that are okay and the things that are not okay. Because if you don't know exactly what that is, how are you going to be able to communicate that to? How are you going to be able to stand behind it and embody it? So it's super, super important that you're getting very, very clear about your own boundaries and then like starting to enforce those. So this is again another step of like, well, I'm living my life. I'm living the best life ever, right? Because that's where the focus and attention is. I like you. I'd like to see you, but not under those terms and conditions anymore. Here are the terms and conditions. This is what I want. And often you don't even need to communicate that. That's just something he will pick up so quickly, because your behaviors, your way of engaging and behaving with him is going to be so different. The way how you act around him or even on text is going to shift and change, because all of these player kind of moves and, playing the game and playing the field, all of this just didn't seem to work on you anymore. So yeah, first he's going to distract himself with all the other leads that are available for him. But sooner or later, he's going to realize, damn, she kind of raised her standards. She raised her boundaries. I can't do everything the way how I want to anymore. And obviously he didn't like it. And yet at the same time, he liked it a lot, because she removed herself from all these other ladies. So all of a sudden she stood out. Before, she was just one out of many. But now she stood out. And she stood out so much, because it was not like all the other girls that he was fooling around with. And she didn't want to be that girl. So I was like, well, you have to stop fooling around with him. Yeah, but then I might lose him. It's like, look, you already tried all the other things, and clearly everything that you've tried didn't really work. You're still where you were at before. So follow my strategy, and it's going to change everything. In one way or another, you're going to get that clarity, and you're going to either get him and he's going to be with you, or you're going to fall apart, but you're living the life that you really want. And all this back and forth, hot and cold, and this all the suffering and the nights full of tears and crying is that's gone. Do you want this? Yeah, okay, I want this. Okay, cool. So let's continue. So we need to design her boundary blueprint. Once we had that blueprint and we know how she could enforce this, how she could make sure okay, yeah, in some ways she started to play him a little bit, right? But in the most beautiful, elegant way possible. So then the next piece that I needed to really help her to understand is okay, now a really important piece is also you need to master the art of male psychology. Now, what does that mean? It's these male-female dynamics. There's so much in just understanding the psychology and the way how we think, how we move, the way how we react and behave, and so on and so forth. So look, at the end of the day, every man wants to feel like a hero. If he's going to be your Superman, if he's going to be your superhero, then that's exactly what you want him to feel. Every time he's doing something special, something unique and amazing for you, cool, reward him. Show him he is the man, he's your man, be that queen in his kingdom type of thing. But if he does all these other game-ish type moves with all these other ladies and with you, then you're you remove yourself. It's just not, and you can communicate that clearly too, it's just not what you want. But so he realizes even more, man, the type of woman that I want, the way how this lady makes me feel is just special. Because every single man, he wants to feel like he's celebrated, he's enjoyed, he's desired and devoted, and he's the superhero in your story, And if you make him feel that way, then what's going to happen is oh, I like the way how I feel. Why do I feel this? It's because of her. It's okay, so let me spend more time with her. That's an easy way of thinking for men. It's if she makes me feel a certain way, I want to be around that woman, Because all these other ladies that he was fooling around with, they didn't make him feel this way. They were nice for the moment, but they didn't really have that depth and that emotional connection and actually making him feel that specific way. There was her, because that's where we started integrating. So now I realized, man, I can't fool around with these other ladies anymore, because it's kind of lower level now since I'm in contact with this. Two, I cannot fool around because I'm not getting her, because her standards are so much higher. Her boundaries are way more clear. I'm not getting away with this. And ultimately, without even saying it, what happened is she communicated to him. It's look, if you want to play with me, we can. But I'm up leveled my game. I'm here. So if you want to play, you got to come here. You got to meet me where I'm at. So fooling around and disrespecting here and all these other things, like, it's not going to work for me anymore. So he realized, damn, she's holding me to a higher standard. She's like actually wanting me to be a better man. So now he had an option. He had to choose between, do I want to be a better man? Do I want a quality woman like this who thinks higher of me, who holds higher standards for herself and therefore also for the man that she wants to be with? Or do I want to continue to fool around with these ones here? For him, it was a very clear answer. Like, he wanted to be with her at that point. Okay, let me repeat the four ones before. One, you need to prioritize yourself. You need to own your own spotlight. Two, you need to craft a life for yourself that is so irresistible, so amazing, that he really wants to be part of this. And also it shows like an independency. It shows like some sort of like sovereignty. And it's like, man, I'm living a great life. Like, the man that wants to be with me, he wants to be with me also because of me and the life that I'm living. That all comes as a package. The third point is create your boundary blueprint. Very, very important, because if you don't have these boundaries and if you don't respect your own boundaries and there are no consequence if someone breaks these boundaries, how can you again expect someone else to respect your boundaries if you don't even respect them yourself? The fourth one is understanding male psychology, is understanding the art of flirting and the art of making him feel a certain way, that he connects that feeling always back to you. And then the fifth point, the last point, is like, you want to create the perfect chase kind of like flirtatious game with him. It's like the next level of the male psychology. Because now, obviously, with the two of them that I just described to you in this beautiful example, they've already been through like the intimate space, right? So it's not necessarily quite the same for them. But generally speaking, if you're just starting to date someone and you're not really getting the attention and you're not really the priority that you want to be, then at some point also with him, because you're seeing him, is that pressure and that intensity of going more into this intimate space. He's gonna, create that. And if this is too fast for you, if there's too much speed for you and you feel like, hey, it's a little bit too fast, then there's a lot of ineffective communication that usually happens from the women's side that kind of pushes them away. Either it's too harsh and too aggressive. It's like, who do you think I am? And who do you think that you are, that you can get into my pants so quickly? And like, all of these, like, if you really like the guy, then you don't want to respond that way. Because one, he might not be the best in communicating properly the desires that he has, or it's just like just running through him too much. He doesn't know how to handle it. However, if you're reacting very harsh, you can also push a good man away, because he's like, oh my God, this lady, I'm never going to make a move on her ever again. I'm never going to try anything because like I felt so emasculated. I felt so disrespected. I felt so like, not being handled nicely and kind. So he's not going to do it again. Or you're going to be very shy. You're playing along because you don't want to lose that man, even though it's not quite on your timeline. And that's not really a good option too, because you're not enforcing your boundaries in a smart way. So it's very, very important to find that sweet spot if you're facing a challenge like this, the pressure of wanting to go further and you're like not being quite there. And finding that sweet spot of communicating your boundaries, somewhat rejecting him, but at the same time dangling the carrot of like, hey, look, like part of me really wants this too, but it's a little bit too fast for me. And, I have my own rules and my own standards and my own boundaries. And I know the man that really is going to be my hero, that's going to be the man that I'm going to be so devoted to. One, I know he's going to respect my boundaries. And two, he will understand and actually change his behaviors around you too. So, the end of the story with this, the man that I described in this whole example, he left all of these other ladies. He was like, I want this woman. She's special. She's not going to let me get away with all my own bullshit. I have to up-level and become a better man. And she is the one who can help me to get there. So the whole power dynamic between the two of them changed in the most beautiful way, that now they're like maybe 4 years together. They live together, they work together, they started a business together, they have like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 dogs, and they're madly in love with each other. And all of this happened because she stopped being not a priority herself. She started focusing on the real important pieces in her life. And if he's going to up level, he's going to be part of this. And he saw the shift and changes that she went through, the strategy that we started to apply, and that ultimately brought them together better than ever. So these are the 5 steps. They're going to change your life. They're going to change the dynamics with your man. If you apply them exactly the way how I said, it's going to make a very positive impact in your life and in your relationships and dating dynamics.